Hi, this is Jack Connor. Wanted to talk to you today about UFOs. What are the top 10 things that UFOs could be? I have never been a believer in aliens or UFOs, at least that they had come to Earth. I believe that somewhere out there were aliens, and sure, in the fullness of time we might meet them. But I never considered or I never believed that they were here on Earth with us. Recently, in the last few months, I've discovered the existence of the released video footage, the Navy pilots intercepting strange craft in the air. And there have been articles in the New York Times. It's been all over the news, and both in print, in on TV. And there's been TV programs about it, unidentified. It's really everywhere. It's really gaining a lot of momentum. This almost what seems like a disclosure initiative by certain parties, whoever that is, whether it's the government or government adjacent or factions within the government, who knows? But anyway, there's a growing movement regarding this subject, and it's gotten me really interested. But do UFOs equal aliens, or could it be something else? So let's go over the top 10 things that UFOs could be. So, number one, time travelers. These things could simply be humans from another time. They could be, from 1,000 years in the future, they have discovered a way to go backwards in time. So, of course, modern humans could theoretically go forwards in time if we had fast enough rocket ships in space. We could accelerate the way they did in the movie Planet of the Apes. And time is relative. So for the people on the ship, very little time would have passed, but when they came back, a great deal of time might have passed. So theoretically, we can right now go forward in time, but we can't go back, and it doesn't seem possible at the moment. However, they could have done that in the future. So these things that we're saying could be time travelers. It's possible. I tend not to believe that. I think that are they time tourists? Why are they coming here? Wouldn't that create paradoxes? If they are coming here, why are they so detectable? Why are we seeing them? If they're trying to not alter the... Anyway, it doesn't really make a lot of sense for it to be time travelers, but it's possible. Okay, number two, they could also be beings from another dimension, and other entities that are not us, that are from some other dimension. String theory posits up to, I believe, 11 dimensions, and there are other theories that theorize that there could be even more than that. So these are could be beings from another dimension. Now, to me, saying beings from another dimension is just another way of saying alien. So if you're looking for a non-alien hypothesis, I don't think that's any different. But that is a trendy thing to say, that these things could be from another dimension, and that's entirely possible. But again, that's just another way of saying alien to me. Three, they could be from a parallel dimension or a parallel Earth. They could be humans, but from an alternate Earth. There are plenty of models of the cosmos that posit parallel dimensions, possibly even an infinite number of parallel dimensions. And so it could be somebody from another dimension. That's entirely possible. So what else do we got? Okay, number four. This one I like. Atlantis. They could be beings from Atlantis, and when I say Atlantis, I don't necessarily mean the real Atlantis, although who knows. What I mean is some sort of breakaway civilization that long ago splintered from the mainstream human course of events, human knowledge, human history, whatever, any written documentation about them. except for the brief mention of Atlantis, or one of the other fabled lost realms. Mu or whatever. And so anyway, so they could have, these beings could be from some advanced human civilization that current society is simply unaware of. Some group that became lost intentionally or otherwise. They dropped to the bottom of the sea, they're in some mountain somewhere, they're under the earth, whatever. So it could be something like that, some advanced civilization that has got all these vehicles zipping around the world, and they're just they're humans, but they're just way advanced, and they divorced themselves from the main course of human history long ago, and they like it like that, and they're not here to make contact. They're just doing their thing. It's Aquaman flying around up there. So who knows? Who knows? I tend not to think that, but whatever. Okay, number 5, another fun one. It could be some non-human terrestrial race. Think of dinosaurs. They're around for hundreds of millions of years. So it's entirely possible, if they had continued, or even, as it stands now, with them being extinct, they could have evolved an intelligent species of dinosaur. There could be some intelligent reptilian race or whatever, dinosaur saurian race living in some volcano or under the earth somewhere. And they are millions of years advanced of us because they evolved hundreds of millions of years ago. And they simply have chosen to remain aloof, not advertising their presence to mankind. So it could be some reptile beings zipping around the atmosphere, and they've been seen these craft have been seen in the water, as in space, whatever. So it could be something like that. It's a fun theory that I think is entirely possible. Some sort of pre-human intelligent race that could be responsible for what these Navy pilots are seeing. And of course, more than just Navy pilots, these craft have been seen by many people for a long time. All right, so speaking of the military, number 6 is it could be the U.S. military. And I think it's entirely likely and very possible that at least some of these craft that the pilots are seeing are from the U.S. military. These are some advanced special weapons projects, special vehicle projects like this stealth fighter or stealth bomber that are just super advanced. The Navy, I believe, just filed a patent for an extremely advanced aerial vehicle that is supposed to defy gravity. And so that is very curious. Of course, that could be they have reverse engineered some sort of alien technology. And I think that's also very likely. So it could be the U.S. military. However, once you start looking into this phenomenon, and I have over the last few months, I've grown very interested in this subject. And I have researched it pretty thoroughly. And I am satisfied for myself that these things have been seen by people, including military credible people, going back to the 1940s, and probably earlier. So I highly doubt that the U.S. military had ships that could do this in the 1940s. They just filed a patent, I think this last year, for gravity-defying ships. They weren't filing patents for that in the 1940s. So I don't think it's credible that that could account for all that we're seeing. Also, obviously, if it was the U.S. military doing these things in the 1940s, they would have utilized these ships in war, and we would know about them. So I think that it's very likely that the U.S. military is part of it, but by no means all of it. And it only takes one incidence for this to be non-human or non-conventional. So if it's not the U.S. military, number 7 is international military. Could it be the Chinese or the Russians or whoever? Absolutely, it could be. However, we are way in advance of them, and we are more benign than they are. I highly doubt that they would be sitting on this advanced technology since the 1940s and not have tried to take over the world with it. So could they be experimenting with stuff now? Could some of the stuff we're seeing recently be from them? Sure, although I don't think that they're going to be that much more advanced than we are, and possibly developing things that can go thousands of miles an hour, breaking the speed limit, breaking the sound barrier without creating a sonic boom, which is what these craft are doing, which is breaking the laws of physics. If the U.S. military can't do that, I have trouble believing the Russians or the Chinese could do that. So, but it's always a possibility. Let's see. What about the private sector? If it's not the military, number 8 is the private sector. Now, in my research on this, it seems very likely that one of the big aerospace companies may have some recovered material from these events. Call them downed UFOs or downed flying saucers or pieces of those things, whatever you want to call them. That's according to my research, that one, if not more, of these aerospace companies is sitting on some advanced technology. And so it's very likely that Boeing or whoever is in possession of these things and is doing something with them, possibly in the air that pilots are seeing. I think that's a distinct possibility. It's my cat. Okay. So there could be the private sector, but again, that if it's entirely of human manufacture, I have a very hard time believing that the private sector has been sitting on this since the 1940s and has not done anything with it. So they could have been experimenting with it, but how would they even have developed it in the 1940s? I have a lot of trouble believing they could break the laws of physics to the extent that these craft seem to be able to do so in the 1940s. However, some of the stuff that the pilots are seeing today could and very likely is from the private sector, possibly working with the military as part of the overall military-industrial complex, the way Boeing, Lockheed, etc. typically operate. But outside of the chain of command, potentially, of the government. So number 9, unknown. We don't know what these things in the air are. Could be anything. Could be anything, just any crazy thing that you can imagine, or not imagine. Just admit that we are not capable of imagining what these things are. And that's, entirely possible that these things could be of unknown origin, an unguessable origin, something that we never could have thought of. And that's a distinct possibility. All right, so number 10, aliens. Of course, number 10 is aliens. They could be beings from another world. And that is as likely, if not more likely, than anything else. In fact, Occam's razor says that it's aliens. and indicates that it's aliens. The simplest answer is the correct answer. So easily it could be aliens. The likeliest answer is probably that they are beings from another world operating these craft, whether they're in the craft or operating them remotely. Who knows if they're here. These could be probes or drones that they have sent here. They could be operated by alien AI or clones or whatever. So who knows what they are, but it's very possible, if not very likely, that they originated from another world and were built by non-humans. So those are the 10 best ideas that I have for what these UFOs could be. What do you think they are? Do you think they're humans? Do you think it's the dinosaurs flying around, Aquaman flying around? Are they aliens? What are these things? Tell me, chime in below. If you like this video, please hit like, please hit subscribe. I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.